WaterAid was founded in 1981, 37, 38 years old now, actually. So moving into middle age. It was founded by the utilities in the UK. We're an international NGO. We work in about 35 countries around the world, and we're focused on water, sanitation and hygiene for the poorest people in the world. Well, it may seem obvious, but it's not necessarily had as much priority as it should have, because we still have nearly 800 million people in the world without water and over 2 billion without sanitation. But the benefits are around a healthier life, better chances in life, education. Children who lack access to water, sanitation and hygiene and have episodes of diarrhea early in their life will have their whole lives compromised as a result. So it's something you notice if it's not there. Well, I think the lack of access to water, sanitation and hygiene, especially in some of the poorest people in the world, but the numbers are big, with nearly 800 million people without water and over 2 billion without sanitation. And in order to tackle this in a long-term sustainable way, we feel it's necessary to get a mixture of political will, citizens who demand these services, and capable and well-resourced sector, well-resourced utilities that can deliver. Yes, indeed, there are some. I think in wealthier countries, frankly, these are services we take for granted. So, like in the UK, there's a sort of expectation, whereas I have met communities where people are happy to get 20 litres a day, which I think in this country would probably cause quite an upset. And that's not enough. We want people to use enough. We don't want people to use too much water, but it's very important that people have enough and that they use it for life. I should say that WaterAid owes a huge debt of gratitude to the water sector for the funding over many, many years that has come, both as a result of direct fundraising activities, but also through the introduction of customers through promoting WaterAid's work to their customers. But we've also seen, especially over the last 10 years, where WaterAid has tended to work more in urban settings, with more parallels to the UK. We've seen partnerships emerge between utilities in this country and utilities working in developing countries, such as the relationship between Yorkshire Water and a group of utilities in small towns in Ethiopia, or the pairing between Anglian and organisations in Nepal. And these are very two-way, and we have exchange visits in both directions. And some of the results in Ethiopia, which has been running a bit longer, are really encouraging. Well, many of the communities we work with do live on far less water than I guess you or I living in the UK would be used to. And of course, in some situations, particularly women and girls, have to fetch water. So I guess communities in developing countries don't take this for granted, this precious resource. There are also other forms of exchange of learning at a more technical level, which might be interesting for the UK. Many of the communities we work with are now having to deal with the consequences of climate change. Raising higher sea levels so that you get water sources salinated, which affects the quality of drinking water and the price of water. And also the solutions are different in most of the contexts in which we work. It's all about sanitation, is all about local processing, not sewerage. We always work with both communities, but also the authorities and particularly the planners. We feel this is essential. There's a couple of reasons. One is that it's vital that a community understands the importance of the infrastructure that's being put into place and therefore has some stake in making sure it's maintained. But from a planning point of view, we're very keen, especially in the more urban settings, that there are universal plans put in place that cover all the essential services, including, of course, water, sanitation and hygiene. Well, we will always work closely with the community to get buy-in and so that people understand the importance of maintaining facilities. We believe it's important that people pay a reasonable price for facilities so that there's enough money in the system to maintain facilities. And I should say that it's a common misconception that poor people don't pay for water. In fact, poor people generally pay an awful lot of money, more money than we would for water. And it's trying to get affordable, decent drinking water on a sustainable basis that we're about. We also think it's very important that there is that solutions are future focused, so that there's a look ahead to climate, as you mentioned, but also demographic changes, rapid urbanisation. Many, on average, small urban cities in small towns and cities in developing countries, their populations are doubling every 15 years. Very, very rapid growth, and therefore, obviously, when planning services, you have to look ahead and make sure that the solutions that you're implementing are future-proof. I think probably the most important thing is, as well as citizens who understand that they need water, need good sanitation to lead a healthy and modern life, as well as utilities who can deliver. It's also, especially in those countries which are furthest behind, it's really important to have high-level political leadership so that the head of government or the head of state is supportive, is driving through an agenda that says everyone in this country should have this service, and that gets support from a number of different government ministries, that is not seen only as the provision of a water and sanitation service, it's also supported by the health ministry, by the education ministry and so on. I think what Ofwat and the wider sector in the UK could learn from maybe not so much WaterAid, but WaterAid's partners, the utilities working in developing countries, is in a number of the contexts in which we work, a lot of things are changing, including climate, in ways which are likely to affect this country, but not maybe what's happening now in some developing countries will happen in this country in a few decades' time. So it could well be that the future leaders of the water sector here in the UK could be looking at the solutions that are being found to these challenging situations in countries which are already facing them.